Oh, let's get started anyway. So do you want to do like the little introductory bit?
Yes, of course. So, yeah, welcome to everybody on this lovely Thursday tea time.
It is.
But depends whereabouts in the world that you might be. But
Yeah.
anyway, welcome to our latest webinar. And this one's all about living well with a brain injury. Now, how does that work?
Yeah, how does that work? Well, basically, we spent a lot of years with a lot of anguish, which I'm sure that some of you guys on here have as well. And don't get me wrong, life wasn't horrendous, but I feel like we lost a lot of time because I had to deal with a lot of stresses, a lot of fatigues, a lot of battles. And there was times where I missed out on things because I just didn't have the confidence to go into a room full of people. So I'd walk away from a friend's party or leave early or not even go in the first place. So
I think the battles mostly was because following Mark's brain injury, we weren't given hardly any information about what might happen and things like hidden disabilities. So for a number of years, we just sort of were in the wilderness, weren't we, in terms of not knowing what was happening and how we could understand that he has got a brain injury, because we didn't even know that at the time. So that's why we created this, because we want to help any family that has somebody with a brain injury to live well with it and not face the challenges for such a long period of time that we did.
Yeah, absolutely. So we believe you have some questions for us that you may have prepared.
Do you know what? Here's in typical Blue Peter fashion. Here's one that I prepared earlier. But you talk about one of the key things being identifying the challenges that face you when you have a brain injury. And to me, that sounds easier said than done. So what made you realise what those hurdles were that you had to face and overcome?
I think for me, it was actually finally getting support, because as Jules just said a minute ago, I didn't even know what the term brain injury was. So for 6 years, I told people that I had a head injury X amount of years ago or at this time or whatever, and I just referred to it as a head injury. I knew that there was side effects from this because my neurologist would say, you know, it takes a while for these things to get better, or just give it time, or you're doing fantastic because you can do all of these things. So when I actually learned the term brain injury, it became a time to think, right, I'm starting to get this now. I know that fatigue's a big part of it. I know memory loss is part of it. I know that all these things that are happening to me are actually things that I don't think the word should be happening, but are acceptable to happen after a brain injury. These things will happen, or whatever the case may be. Whereas before I was thinking, well, you know, it's been 6 years now. Surely I shouldn't be feeling tired in the afternoon, or surely I should remember that really important piece of information from work, or something that Jules said, or something that a friend said, because it's been 5 or 6 years now. So I think that was the thing for me, really, wasn't it?
It definitely was. And understanding the things that could be thrown at you from having the brain injury massively helped us to understand the challenges that we were facing at the time, because the mood swings, the constant up and down, whereas before Mark was, well, you were horizontal, so he was one position. He was, it was quite a relaxed state all the time, but then it just changed and gradually got worse and worse. And the mood swings up and down, and the silences, and the inability to cope with the changes were hard. And particularly, I think, because we didn't understand what those changes were. So once we'd accepted, and that we'll probably come back to this a bit later on, that we were faced with a lot of differences in your personality, that was when we were able to go forward and get some help and learn how to understand them and work with them. Because that's what we do now. They challenges, but we work with them as opposed to against them.
I think that word acceptance is really, really important, isn't it? Because it's realizing what you can change and what you can't change, but also it's about understanding the things that you can do something about. So just moving on, how did you decide what adjustments you needed to make in your lives once you'd identified some of those challenges and hurdles?
Again, I think our the lady at the brain injury hospital, she was brilliant. After they did lots and lots of tests to find out his strengths and weaknesses and where the areas were, she gave us a lot of assistance in different types of coping mechanisms. And I think once you can understand the effects the brain injury has left you with, then you can look at making any adjustments. But we've recently put out the diary, haven't we? The fatigue diary.
Yeah.
And that was game changing for us to understand that, you know, he can wake up and feel absolutely fantastic, and 5 minutes later, boom, crashed for no reason. And so being able to work your day, your week around those things, those challenges, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I made some notes down here earlier, and I was just thinking, like in the early days, I knew that driving long distances was not good for me. And at the time, I mean, a lot of people are regulars on here. There's some new people, but a lot of people on here will know that I was a freelance schools motivational speaker. So not only was the job and the days demanding, but the drive was ridiculous. So I looked at ways of getting on public transport. So if it meant getting a train or staying over the night before or whatever, that was a big adjustment. But then even getting a train's really tiring and fatiguing when you've got so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
Or when you get on that, the train from Birmingham to Northampton was always the one, because you could never find a seat on it.
I know.
And there was so much noise going on with people getting on and getting off. So even at the time, I didn't realise that was a trigger, because I was thinking, it's great, I'm not driving.
Yeah.
Then that went on to Jules doing more of the driving, when we sort of ended up ditching freelancing and working together on things. So yeah, it was just trial and error, but also listening to people, listening to the people in the background at the hospital who are saying, yeah, these things will happen. So it's like, right, okay, so how can I move to the next stage? But the other thing was obviously listening to Jules, because she spends the most time with me. And if she was saying at the time, you know, I think you should put that down now, I think you should stop working on that now, or I think you should have a rest, or I don't think you should do that. It's really hard at first. It took me a long time to say, yes, you're right, I won't go and do that activity today, or I won't work on this preparation for our next workshop because I need to put it down now. But yeah, it does take a long time.
It does take a long time. And the other thing that we found, it's not just about that particular day, because you have to look at your week and sometimes even your month, what you've got, because, you know, people still possibly have to work, they've still got family commitments, there's still things that they want to do. But to enable you to be able to do that, we have to look at how we're going to manage that, because if we, as you were saying, if we do too much all in one day, that can put him back 2-3 days for that week. So he's completely ineffective then. But if we can manage his battery, I guess that's the best way to do it, to say it, then we can make things more achievable, can't we?
Yeah, without a doubt.
I guess the other useful source that you maybe didn't have at the time is where you can talk to other people who've experienced the same as you. So the people on this call, everybody's going to be at a different stage of their brain injury journey, but you've got a whole community of people who you can compare that with and say, this is happening to me, did it happen to you? And just having somebody else to make you feel, actually, this is totally normal, must be really helpful.
It is, yeah. Funny enough, you're just saying that, and I was just going to say this to everybody. I forgot to say this right at the start, but if you want to put anything in the chat, I noticed Tim's quite active in here, but anybody else who's on here. But I've just read here that Tim said, I plan a rest day before and then one after an activity. Even me reading that now, makes me think, oh, it's actually all right to do that, because it reminds me of that. So even though I've had a really busy sort of last week, since last Wednesday, really, haven't we? It's been full on, but I've still had to plan in little respites. And today that we had a meeting at 3 o'clock, and I was feeling really, really fatigued at 2. And then I got to 2:45 and I thought, oh, do you know what? I can push through. I could do the meeting. And then I got to 2:50 and thought, actually, I'm not going to do it, because I could push through. But I knew that we've got this webinar this evening. I know that we've got some stuff on tomorrow as well, and then some more stuff on Saturday. So that hour's rest. And I did. I slept for an hour, and it was bang on my hour as always. But you know, I feel great today. I feel great now, which is good. So putting that plan in, and as Tim said, resting before and resting after is good, even if it's an hour before and an hour after, or a day before, a day after.
Yeah. And very true what you
do that.
Yeah, very true what you said, Sally. Having that support mechanism is really crucial, because going back to the days when we were unaware of what we were going through, 2 things. I thought I was making it up as to Mark's change in behaviour, because I was the one that was seeing it all the time, and I would question or try and talk to Mark and say, well, why are you doing this? And he's like, I've not changed, nothing's happening. So it caused quite a lot of friction between us in there. So I just thought, well, it must be me, because he's obviously not feeling it. But the reality was that he was feeling it, but he didn't know how to express it, or he didn't really understand what was going on. So having other people just to say, did this happen to you, like you're saying, Sally, is vital. It's crucial. It
validates your experience, and also makes you feel like you're not alone, doesn't it?
Yeah. I've just seen a question coming from Claire now, and she said, how do I switch off to go for a nap? Because when she closes her eyes, her brain goes into overdrive. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't know. I do a lot of mindfulness, where I just tend to focus on nothing, and it's really hard, because I'm not a nothing person. Like when somebody says, what are you doing today? I never say nothing. I'm always doing something. But I think that's the thing, it's sometimes really hard to switch your mind off. And even like today, I'm just saying, I had this meeting at 3, and I thought, fine, it's absolutely okay, because it was a meeting about a brain injury conference. So these guys are going to know that I've got a brain injury. They know exactly what I'm going through. They're all experts on this, because they talk about it all the time. But then I sat there and I worried for about 5 minutes, thinking, I've let them down. I've pulled out the last minute. I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have pushed through. And then I laid down. I literally just laid on the bed, and I just changed the subject in my mind and thought, oh, great, what are we doing tomorrow? We've got, a nice day coming up tomorrow. We've got a couple of nice things booked in. And then all of a sudden, the next thing is I was asleep. And I don't know how I switched from one to the other, but I pushed it out of my mind very quickly. And I really feel for Claire, because she's saying she hasn't slept properly through the night.
I know this is the big
I've been there.
Issue for you, Claire. And again, I'd perhaps, maybe go to Headway or somewhere and just ask them for some advice and some help on that, because there must be things they're able, for you to do. And if mindfulness or meditation is not the thing, there must be other things that you can use to distract your brain and quieten it down. I find ridiculously, and I haven't got the brain injury, but I find a mask, the eye masks. I've started wearing them in the last few years, but it just darkens everything, and my brain just starts to, I can feel it closing, shutting down. That works for me. I don't know.
And also pop something onto our Facebook forum as well, because there'll be a lot of people there who will be able to help with ideas. One's coming to my mind as well, and this goes against all advice that anybody ever gives about trying to go to sleep, is I pick up my phone and I play a mind game if I wake up in the middle of the night. I play an absolutely mindless game. It's something that is so simple that doesn't involve any concentration. Next thing is I feel tired. And I'm not saying that works every time, but
because we're all different and different things will work. So
it does a lot of the time for me, but yeah.
So one thing that I thought was interesting there, which leads me on nicely to my other question, Mark, was you saying that when you when you laid down and you had a lot of negative talk going on in your mind, and you started thinking about, oh, what have we got lined up for tomorrow, something positive, actually that helped you relax and helped you switched off. And I think that mindset is incredibly important. And one thing that's really interesting to me is how you focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do, because it must be the overwhelming thought when you're first dealing with a brain injury is, I used to be able to do this, I can't do this anymore. But actually there's still so much that you can do, so much that you can achieve. But how do you make that shift?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, the first thing is I've always been quite a driven person to do things anyway. And I mean, a classic example of when I first had my accident, and I was told to avoid contact sports for 6 months at least. And I ran a football team. I ran a supporters football team. So it was a really friendly team. We'd have 11-a-side games and 5-a-side every single week. And I absolutely loved it, especially the 5-a-side. It was so good. And I was told that I couldn't do that anymore. And, you know, I wasn't just turning up and playing the odd time. I was actually running and organising the team. So that became a massive issue for me. Whereas the guy told me straight away that I could carry on running. I asked him if I could go for a run. At the time, I just started park run, but I'd been running for a few years, and I was really enjoying that equally as much as the football. So instead of like beating myself up that I couldn't do the football, I thought, right, okay, how can I run more? Now I'm sitting here talking to people who can't physically run or even walk, and some people will be chair based as well. But my point there is I focused on what I could do and what I couldn't do. Now, I tend to look at things where, you know, I used to love watching a lot of TV. I used to love not so much TV, but documentary information type stuff, where that really does wipe me out. So I tend to not watch things that are too intense. You mentioned about positivity as well. One thing that I've always been a fan of, and this is pre-brain injury, is just putting as much positivity into your life. So avoiding negativity. We were talking to a friend the other day who was talking about something that was in the mainstream media. And I just said, you know, I've absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And with all respect, that story you just told me, it was an atrocity in the world. I said, that's not affecting my life. I don't need to know that. It's really horrendous of what's happened to those people involved. But I don't need that on tap all the time, telling me that somebody's been killed somewhere else. As bad as it is, I just want to focus on the things that are around me and what I can control and the things that are in our life.
Yeah.
So negativity, news, media, all that sort of stuff goes out the window. If somebody has a negative conversation, starts moaning, I'll politely walk away from it because I don't want to hear the moaning. I don't want to hear the negativity. So,
and being able to focus on achieving your goals or the things that you know that you can do, when you are able to achieve, and I mean, I'm talking small goals, nothing major like you're saying running and marathons or anything like that, but just being able to achieve those is such a boost for you mentally to be able to say, oh, I've done that, that's fantastic. So I think, yeah, having that focus on the things that you can do, and if there's something that you want to achieve that at the moment you can't do, I still think you have the ability to do it. Because I don't know if you saw, I put a thing up about personal development and how over the past 7 or 8 months, Mark has learnt not only to play a guitar, but actually sing a song as well, which to a live audience is incredible for any person, I think, to achieve. But it was very small steps, wasn't it? All the time, all the time. But he was just focusing on what he can achieve. So it's a good one, that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And just think of the happiness that it brings you as well. And
amazing.
Thinking, I can't. I don't know. I'm going to make something up, but I can't dive to the bottom of the ocean. So what? You can
Yeah,
play a tune, you can sing, you can do it with friends, you can share something really special and really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's a lovely thing to do, isn't it?
And he has his good lady wife next to him playing the bongos
absolutely.
or on the cajon drum. So
I think Tim's setting up a jam session on the ukulele
I
now.
know.
ukulele is my next goal, Tim. Yes, I'm gonna buy myself over the next few months a ukulele, and I'm gonna try and attempt to play that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to go back to Claire's here as well, and she said she made the decision to pull back from work.
Yeah.
And again, one thing I found in the early days was I managed to carry on working, but then it went the wrong way. It didn't end well. My freelance contract with this company, and in the end, they said we can't work together anymore. And to me, I lost a lot of identity from that, because everybody was saying, "Oh, you still working with so and so?" And it's like, no. So work's a big identity, but also it was the best thing for me pulling away from it, because it was causing so much fatigue, so many issues. And also the people, even though we're all motivational speakers, there was a lot of politics in between, where people were actually complaining about a lot of stuff, and we were moaning about exactly the same things. And by removing that moan, by removing that from our lives as well, it wasn't my choice, I'll be honest with you, and it didn't end the way I wanted it to. But by taking something away and thinking, actually, we can do something that's more positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
And that, do you know what you've just said and what Claire said as well really leads nicely onto the next point. It's like we planned this, isn't it?
It is.
But it's the next point is about setting boundaries. So you've worked out your limitations, what you can and can't achieve, but it's about putting boundaries in place and protecting your own energy. And Claire took the decision to do that by pulling away from work. You protect your energy by, maybe not immersing yourself in what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. And what other things have you been able to do to help set those boundaries and protect your energy?
I mean, that's a great thing, isn't it? It's like the analogy of if you're going on an expedition up a mountain and you put all your food in your backpack, and then you think, right, I've been walking for a mile now. I think I'm going to eat all of my food, but I've still got 23 miles to go or whatever. I've just made some figures up, by the way. You're going to feel very hungry at some point there. And that, I like that phrase that you said, protecting your energy. It's dispersing it over little bursts through the day. So the boundaries I sort of set myself, and we do this very well together. We will plan what we've got in. We'll look ahead for a few days. We never normally do it too far in advance, but we'll look at what we've got. So tomorrow, for example, in the morning, we go to a running walking group, which is quite active. We don't tend to plan anything on a Friday afternoon if we're doing that on a Friday morning, because I know that if I was going to go and do something exhilaratingly exciting tomorrow afternoon, and then maybe go to our jam night in the evening, that's going to be a full-on day. Saturday's probably going to be out the window. I might get through Saturday, but then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday next week, there'll be a knock on at some point. So that's setting my boundaries with me, and obviously having Jules on my side there, or listening to what Jules is saying and saying, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that because that might be a little bit too much.
Yeah. And I think with the other thing with the boundaries as well is letting other people know the boundaries, because otherwise they might be forming their own assumptions and saying, well, I thought he's supposed to be this super fit person. Why does he have to keep resting? Why is this? Or why can't they go and do this? Come along to this. They can do that in the morning. So why can't they do that in the afternoon? But it's letting other people know that this is our life, and we can't do this. We can't go to very noisy I don't know, social things sometimes. It depends what it is. We will look at it and think, is that going to affect us over the next couple of days by going along to that? Is that going to, really, really confuse Mark's brain by going to something that's really loud or noisy or just got too much going on or lights flashing or whatever? So it's setting those boundaries, telling people, and if they can't accept it, it's fine. But that's that, but we have to be clear.
health is much more important, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I wrote down a little line here, is learning how to say no. I think that just sums it up really, isn't it? Just saying, actually, do you know what? I can't do that.
Yeah.
I think, Mark, that's amazing advice for anybody. It's advice I've had to take for anybody, whether you've had a brain injury or not, to learn to say no. And it's fine to say no. It's fine to say I'm too busy. It's fine to say I'm too tired. It's fine to say I just need some time on my own. It's a lesson everybody could learn, but it's super important when you're living with the effects of brain injury, isn't it?
This is it.
Yeah.
And it's that, as we spoke about earlier, it's accepting. And if you can accept, this is where I am right now, and yes, I can put some little cogs in place to change a little bit, or maybe just slightly change what I used to be to the new me. But having that acceptance of where you are right now and setting those little goals, but making sure you've got your boundaries in place, because otherwise people, if they don't understand, it can cause that friction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that. Tim said, Jules, you sound like Michelle.
Well, yes, we've got a lot
Michelle's
of synergy,
wife.
myself and Michelle, your good lady wife.
And I'm gonna big you two up, because I think you're really good at this final point, which is all about setting small goals and celebrating the wins. I think you're really, really good at picking out the positives, picking out the wins, and going, yes, I can do this. Yes, I've done that. Look what I've achieved. But it's a great lesson for all of us.
I think that's the key, because we all get hung up on the celebrity media lifestyle that's put in our faces. It probably doesn't exist anyway. And people always aim for that Mount Everest size goal. And one thing that I think Jules and I have always been real advocates of goal setting, but there's a lot of science behind goal setting that doesn't work for us, because we tend to make it happen by the mindset and the positivity. And I mean, we'll do really crazy things, like we'll celebrate the most pointless, silliest. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example, but it's like, right, let's do the such and such dance because that's happened today. And
I love it, because it just used to be me. I'll be in the kitchen, like, yeah, for something so minor. He even starts doing it now. Let's do the dance.
Let's do the dance. So I mean, it can be something. I'll use an example that Jules gets sick of, but I always say about the cup of tea dance, because I don't like tea, but Jules loves it. But sometimes you make yourself a great cup of tea and you go, yeah, I made a great cup of tea, and start dancing around, and it's like fantastic. I'll do the nice bar of chocolate dance. I'll put that one in there.
Yeah, that's a good.
But you didn't make it.
No, I didn't make it. No, I ate it though. But just joking aside, it is about those small steps, those little steps on the ladder to success. It's about celebrating every single little victory and not worrying about the things that went wrong, which is really easy to say and really hard to do. I think that if we can enjoy and make things fun, so Jules can turn making a cup of tea into a dance. I don't know how many cups of tea some of you guys drink a day. I don't drink any, but if you could turn that into a dance and that a celebration, that little bit of fun, a simple thing like that, the energy is so massive. If you can remove yourself from that social media group that's giving you so much negativity and everybody's just complaining on it all the time, ditch that one, hit the off button and do the cup of tea dance instead.
Exactly.
We're going to call it that. We're going to make that famous one day, the cup of tea dance.
I love
Get
it.
it viral on TikTok or something.
It's all about you're living life on your own terms and you're taking back control, and you must feel much more in control when you can go, Tim's just said, I've broken my big tasks into little jobs. It's so much easier and boosts his well-being. Both Claire and Tim have said they miss the old them, but now they look at the new me, do a lot of voluntary work. Those are about you're in control, you're doing things on your term, you're living. Let's use a politician's phrase, it's the new normal, isn't it? It's your normal now, it's your life now.
Yes.
And you're in control of it, and that is something to be celebrated.
Absolutely, Sally. And I think these things that we've just been talking about today, if you can learn to do this, then you will feel, or start to begin to feel, that you're living life, like we say, on your terms, and you can live well with the brain injury. I mean, we were chatting to a guy earlier today that we've known for a few months now and had absolutely no idea that 20 odd years ago he had a brain tumour. You would not know, would you?
No, and he had to fight it for 20 years as well.
Yeah, it was a very, very complicated one, and it was phenomenal what he's got through. But one of the things, just before he had the operation, his surgeon said to him, right, I'm going to tell you now, there's a very, very high risk of A, you won't get through the operation, and B, if you do, you could be blind. So when I take you down the operation, I suggest you look out the window and enjoy looking at the trees. So he, every morning now, when he wakes up, the first thing he does, he opens his curtains and looks out and says, it's a great day to be alive.
Yeah.
And do you know, wonderful. That's maybe go with goosebumps. When he told us this today, we couldn't believe it, because when you see him, he's as large as life, isn't he? Fabulous.
Yeah.
So but yeah, he's come from that place and he's made these steps and he's living life on his terms.
Yeah.
Yes.
And appreciating it as well, which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I'm just really noticing it's 2 minutes past 6 and we said till 6 o'clock, so a bonus 2 minutes. Let's do the extra 2-minute dance.
We've got a 2-minute bonus dance now.
Yeah.
I think the bonus is so far, I think the technology's worked.
Yeah, that's a bonus,
and we've recorded it, so we can get it
well,
out
we think we have.
We have. I'm positive.
But just 2 things leave behind there, and one of them is to hang out with positive people. So as you guys can see on the call, on the webinar, you can see that we're really good friends with Sally, and Sally just joins in the dance there. And I think that's the thing, that even though we run the Future Toolbox and the Brain or Shine together as a company, we have loads of fun doing that. Our meetings are ridiculously fun.
Yeah.
Not because we plan them to be, they just happen that way.
It's just the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And even when we talk about stuff to do with the accounts and finance, which is stereotypically boring to most people, that's never boring.
Sally makes it fun.
Sally makes it fun. So we'll do things like that. But joking aside, business away from it, if you can turn those fun things into really, really positive things and have fun with people around you, if you can join up with people that are going to move you forward in your life, then absolutely do that.
And don't feel bad about putting yourself first.
No, not
do
at all.
not, because you are the most important person to yourself.
Yeah. So as you may know, our website is futuretoolbox.co.uk. No, it's not.
It's Brain or Shine.
I'm talking about the wrong one. You can go to futuretoolbox.co.uk because that is our other website. The main one that you guys want to go to is brainorshine.com. We've got our Facebook peer-to-peer group on there, which is private. It's a very safe space to talk. We had a great chat at the weekend about people's brain. I just saw the word brain there. You can see how it's working. We also have a podcast which comes out every fortnight, and obviously you can go back and listen to episodes, and that covers everything we talk about. There is Instagram feed with lots of simple tips on there, which is great, and we got up to 700 followers yesterday. He's doing the 700 follower dance.
Yeah, can't believe it.
Yeah. Ooh. And if you struggle to listen to things, which you've obviously been listening today, we have a newsletter that you can read, and also a blog as well. So there's loads of stuff on there, and there will be more new stuff coming in the future. But again, with brain injury, we don't want to overload you with things, because we have to create them, and that overloads me and Jules as well, then, and Sally.
But
so I think in my brain. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank
you for joining. We hope that you've got something from this, and hopefully if you want to re-listen to it, we'll have it out on our website soon.
Yeah. When? We don't know. Where? We don't know, but we'll let you know.
And thank you so much, Sally.
Yeah. Cool. Take care. So I think we hit leave, and that ends it for everybody. So we'll try that now. And
take care, everyone, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye bye now.
Bye.